Welcome to Progress Theory, a podcast where I think through and explore the mechanics behind human change and transformation in an attempt to create massive growth for myself and for anyone who listens. Today, I am going to be trying to think through how to determine when it is best to stay on a difficult path and push through the difficulty and the hardship that it entails, and when it is best to pivot away and pick a new strategy in a new direction. This is a very pressing thing on my mind. I have been working on this business of progress theory for about 15 months at this point, and in those 15 months, I have shifted the direction many times, even with this podcast. This is an attempt at a new format. This is the third or fourth format iteration that I have attempted in 4 different episodes. And I'm just starting to really question if I am shooting myself in the foot by constantly making pretty substantial tweaks to how I'm going about things. I think this is something that is very easy for all of us to do. Uh, it's very difficult to choose a direction and to actually sit with it long enough for it to work. One of the principles behind success that I see repeatedly emphasized in personal development books, in business books, in entrepreneurship content. One of the people I consider to be a digital mentor, someone I look up to highly, is Alex Hormozy. And one of the things he emphasizes over and over and over again is it takes significant repetition over a long period of time before you'll start to see real results. And you have to just stick with it, and you have to suck over and over and over again for an indefinite period of time with no certainty that what you're doing is going to work for you to actually get massive results. And I think this is very true. It takes consistent, boring repetition over a long period of time before things start to really work out. But the problem is sometimes the strategy also just is not effective. And the fear for me is if I'm sticking to something, if I'm sticking to the wrong thing over and over and over, with the rationale being I have to be consistent, I have to be repetitive over a long period of time to see success, it's very possible that I just end up wasting a lot of time doing the wrong thing repeatedly with no results at the end of that repetition. And there goes a significant amount of very valuable time. So the question I'm trying to determine is how to know when I really just need to push through the difficulty, the emotional exhaustion, the self-doubt, how to determine if that is just a illusion and if it's the thing that is derailing my growth, and how to strategically decide it's time to pivot because what I'm currently doing is not working. I think this is not something that just applies to me. This seems like a common struggle for pretty much anyone who's trying to create growth in any domain of their life, whether it's fitness, business, nutrition, intellectual development, working your way through college, any path that you're trying to take, anytime you're trying to create change in your life, it requires a lot of work up front with no sort of actual certainty that you will get the result. And it's very easy. Uh, if you look at the graph, I can't remember the actual name for it, but when you start doing something, there's this high level of certainty and belief and hope because you don't know how difficult it actually is, and that hope and belief and certainty just plummets as you actually work your way through it because you start to realize this is really hard and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm terrible at this, and it might take forever before I see results, and I might never see the results I want. And that self-doubt plagues you until you decide, oh, this path sucks. It's not me that's the problem. It's not the process that's the problem. It's just this specific path. So I'm going to jump ship and go to this new workout plan. I'm going to go to this new business model. I'm going to switch degrees. I'm going to decide to learn about this thing or build this skill set instead. And it just creates this constant process of jumping to new things in hopes that it's easier and recognizing it's not, because nothing, building mastery in any domain is hard and takes a significant amount of time. And then you end up wasting months and years and decades just bouncing between things and never building any sort of actual compounding results or momentum. I've spent a majority of my life doing this. I have jumped between like 6 different business models at this point that I've attempted to start. I've seen a tiny sliver of success in one of them, but still didn't stick with it long enough for it to become anything. I've done this with addiction recovery models. I've done this with productivity systems that I've tried to create. There's this constant self-doubt and questioning of the strategy is wrong. The system is wrong. I need to improve the system, change the system, shift the strategy. And I've completely shattered any chance of creating compounding growth in my life up until this point because of this tendency. So what I am actually going to attempt moving forward is creating a structured plan for how to define the direction I'm taking, how to define the strategy I'm taking, and then create very defined constraints for when I can change and pivot and when I have to keep moving forward. I think the biggest thing for me, at least, in these decisions is that I give in to the emotions behind them. I let my emotions cloud my judgment, and then I create rationalizations that push me towards the path my emotions are calling me to take. And most of the time, the emotions are calling me to take the path that seems significantly easier because I'm tired and scared and filled with doubt and fear. And I just want, I want to buy into that fantasy that there is a way easier path that has significantly less failure or embarrassment or pain associated with it. And I think one of the best ways to overcome this tendency is to figure out how to largely remove emotion from the situation. So my plan moving forward for how to create this change is to create a structured system for defining direction and strategy. And what this structured system is going to look like is thinking through the pros and cons of whatever paths that I am thinking about taking, spending a couple days to a week sitting on the decision, ultimately make the decision within a very defined timeline, and then once I do so, create metrics for understanding, am I actually improving? Define what are the things that I can measure to determine if the strategy that I am pursuing and repeating is actually generating the results I want and creating progress. And what is the timeline that I'm committing to upfront for sticking to this strategy in order to give it a chance to generate actual results? And that way, there is no, I get 3 months into this, and after 3 months, I feel like this isn't generating results. I mean, for a very tangible example in my life right now, with this podcast, with the media for Progress Theory, so far I've seen next to no viewership, which is okay. I am not good at this yet. I don't understand how to create engaging content. I don't understand how to deliver high value to people. And I need to put in the repetition in order to learn how to do that. But I also cannot just be pivoting my strategy constantly to where I never give any format a chance to grow and develop. And so instead of every couple episodes pivoting to a new format because I'm not seeing viewership, I want to define I'm going to try this format for 10 episodes, 20 episodes, 6 months, create a very defined timeline in which I say it does not matter how demoralized I feel doing this. It does not matter how much I want to pivot to something else because it seems like it'll get me the results I want faster. I'm going to do this for this amount of time. I'm going to measure these metrics in order to determine if it works or not. At the end of that period, I can decide if pivoting to a new strategy is worthwhile or I should stay with this one. And I think this can apply to every other area of my life. With my fitness routines, I build a program for working out. I determine what am I actually trying to optimize this program for. For me, I'm going into a strength-focused program right now. And so I will define the metrics of I am trying to create this percentage increase in strength over this period of time. And it's very measurable. I can see over time if it's working or not. And after doing that for the defined period of 6 months or a year, then I can decide, okay, this was not as effective as I thought it would be. I'm going to pivot and adjust accordingly. And that way, there isn't just this constant bouncing between all these different strategies with no hope of compounding actually taking effect. But there also is not the risk of sticking to a faulty strategy for months and years and decades and just slamming my head into the wall, telling myself, oh, it's the repetition. If I just keep going, it'll work, with no attempts to actually iterate and improve upon my strategy as I learn and engage in that repetition. So hopefully that system will work. Hopefully that will allow me to avoid the trap of abandoning ship before I've actually given myself the chance to see results. But it will also stop me from wasting significant time just mindlessly repeating the same broken strategy. And hopefully this sort of defined, structured method for determining direction and sticking with it is of value to you as well. So this has been episode 9 of the Progress Theory podcast. This is the format I am in the spirit of what we just talked about. This is kind of the format I'm switching to with these podcasts, where it is a lot more conversational. It's a lot more me trying to think through things in real time. There's no sort of significant scripting that goes into it. And hopefully it'll just give me a chance to actually start thinking through this in real time in a way that can actually create value and generate some sort of insight for anyone who is listening. So, as always, if you are listening, I appreciate you. Definitely subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content like this or hearing more podcast episodes like this. Check out progresstheory.com if you want to learn more about how I can actually help you create substantial growth in your own life. And I wish you all the growth and progress that you are looking for in your life. Until next time.